Welcome, everyone. I will now call the meeting for this evening, January 15th, to order, and just make one report that our young David Huffman is away on vacation, won't be here tonight. Everyone else is in attendance. So welcome, and let's get this over with, because I hear the roads are getting pretty bad out there. So I'm going to ask if there are any conflicts of interest amongst the council members. No, thank you very much for that. I'm looking for the adoption of the published agenda for January the 15th. It's moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Oh, question? Councilor Voakes.
I just have some notices of motions I'd like to enter into the next meeting if I could.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to put a notice of motion for it. I'd like to have discussions on how this council collectively deals with media issues and what we talk about and what we don't talk about and when we talk about it and where we talk about it and why we talk about it. I certainly want to get a clear understanding of that. I would like to put a motion forward for the next meeting where we have discussions on our RFPs, our request for proposals. Because, as you know, we're putting a pavilion up, and the pavilion is really about 12 6x6 beams and some trusses and a roof. And when I asked, which I thought was going to have washrooms, and apparently it was deemed that there wouldn't be washrooms there, I had concerns for the veterans using the facilities, and the cost between having washrooms and not having washrooms was almost $300,000. So I want to know, and I want to figure out how we allow RFPs and what we accept and what we don't accept. And then my last motion will be, is I want to know how much it is going to cost the taxpayers in terms of the consultant coming in to do the fireman review. And that will be my motions for the next meeting, please, and thank you.
Any others? No. Anyone else? Nothing.
Point of clarification, Your Worship?
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear a motion in any of those. I'm just wondering, a notice of motion means make a motion. You're the first of the motion, and it will be seconded by somebody at the meeting. But a motion has to be made for a notice of motion.
Yes, sir. So, Councilor Voakes, you are making this a motion. Okay.
So, through the chair. So, Councilor Voakes, with respect to the three notices of motion, I was just hoping would you be able to restate those in the form of a motion, just so I can reflect that in the record? So the first one, I believe your notice of motion was concerning how council deals with media issues. What would be your prospective motion for the next meeting?
Well, as I said, clarification. How we talk to the media, how transparent we are with the media, what's the guidelines to the media. And one would suggest we have that right now, but I think it needs some enhancing, obviously, because I don't think we're as transparent as we can and should be.
So through the chair, Councilor Voakes, then for administration to provide information on those matters with respect to media issues.
Yes.
Okay. Through the chair, Councilor Voakes, on the second issue concerning RFPs, could you state that as a motion?
I just want to put a motion forward to have discussions with council on as a municipality in terms of RFPs. How do we anticipate and deal with those RFPs as they come in? Because I believe as a municipality, we're being, for the lack of a better term, we're being gouged.
So through the chair, Councilor Voakes, is your notice of motion for administration to provide information and or report back on what those RFP procedures are as far as
Yes.
what's accepted, what's not accepted?
Yes.
Okay. And then, through the chair, once again, Councillor Voakes, your third notice of motion, could you state that again for us,
Third
please?
notice of motion is to have the costs shared with council and the consultant coming in for review of the fire and processes and procedures.
So through the chair for admin to provide those costs?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I think there are no further additions, so. Over the minutes of this meeting, Councillor Rogers and Councillor Bondi, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8 on the agenda is reports from administration. 8.1 is a verbal report from Chris Nepsey, Director of Infrastructure Services, concerning winter control in the downtown core.
Mr. Nepsey, thank you, sir.
Through your worship, I don't have too much to report. I know, and it might come through some discussion with council right now. But as far as I think it stems from downtown cleanup in our centers, as far as Harrow Center and Essex Center, and the thresholds around when that's done and when it's not done. The issue with winter control, there are so many variables that it's impossible to set a threshold, right? And we talked about if we set it that we're going to do downtown cleanup after a foot of snow, you know, but it's going to be 90 degrees for the next 3 days. Okay, we're not going to do it at that time. Or we know there's more snow coming. Well, we're not going to do it that time. Or there's a New Year's Eve party, so we want to clean it up before that. So maybe we do it before it hits a foot. So it's really an operational based judgment decision. You know, the guys have been doing it 30, 40 years out in the field. It's something that that we take care of that way. You know, it doesn't happen very often. Last year we didn't do any downtown cleanups. This year we're at one. In 2014, when we had, when pretty much our winter control budget was doubled in 2014, I think we did 4. They range probably for both centers. They range in the neighborhood of 20 grand-ish, plus or minus, depending on how much work. We typically contract this out. In particular, this year we contracted out. Reason being, although we didn't have snow when we were doing it, snow per se, our staffing forces are out chasing the drifts around. When it was cold and dry, we were out solid. Pretty much from New Year's Eve till that warm spell we had, our forces were out nonstop. So they can drive 14 or they can drive 13 and they're off for 8. They get the rest. There's the safe working conditions that they follow, and they were maxed out till then. So that's why I can't afford staff to come in after hours and do downtown cleanup when I need them out chasing snow or I need them off getting the rest. So we contracted out. Another reason we contracted out, in particular at Essex Center, is we don't have the equipment. It's a lot of detail work around benches and poles and street lights and whatnot. So it's real finicky work that way. So we've been doing it for as long as I've been here, downtown cleanup when needed. I know we've been doing it long before then as well. I think moving forward, something we're going to do is, and this might maybe appease Councillor Bondi, the suggestion as far as where to go from here, open up the winter control bylaw and take a look at how much onus we put on the commercial storefronts. You know, as a council or as a town, we do take care of the sidewalk control in the urban centers, in the downtown cores, but that's simply providing a swath through there so that they come. You know, the bylaw has wording in there with respect to when they have to shovel and after the snowfall, how much time they have. Maybe we look at, you know, is there a realistic point of view of asking them to at least provide one access to the street? You know, each business has to provide 1 3-foot or 4-foot access to the street so that, you know, we also understand we're plowing, we're pushing snow back up on the sidewalk, they're trying to shovel it off, we're pushing it off. So I understand that push-pull, but, you know, maybe that's the avenue we can take a look at as far as improving access for our residents to those businesses. So, Councillor Bondi, I'm not sure if that's in the neighborhood of what you're looking for, but just a generic update on downtown cleanup.
Thank you for that, sir. I have Councillor Snively and Councillor Voakes.
Through your worship, to Chris, I think we did a great job with the road cleanup through all the snows we had already. With the downtown cleanup in both centers there, which was nice to see done too. But the only thing I like to express to council is this, when I had some business at the Essex Free Press, and I stopped there, and it was just the businesses on the side streets that at that time never got done. I don't know if they eventually got done or not, but I'd like, if we're going to do the storefronts right downtown Main Street, I think that we should do the 2 or 3 businesses on the side streets. So I like to see that. If we're going to do cleanups at certain times, when we decide it's necessary to clean up, I want to make sure that those businesses off the main street are taken care of also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have Councillor Voakes.
Obviously, administration and council and everybody spent a lot of time on the recent snowfalls we had in terms of pushing the snow on our downtown corridors, and that it builds up on the edge of the curb, obviously creating problems for people getting in and out of their vehicles. And to me, it's really not anything that has to be micromanaged. It doesn't have to be confusing. We certainly don't need to spend the time we spent on. My guess is we've probably spent, and I may be wrong, but with everybody's participation in it, in terms of emails and time spent, God only knows how much money we spent on administrative time answering emails and going back and forth. But to me, it's a very simple fix, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be conflictual. All we do is we go to our contractor and we say to him, hey, what are we looking at for somebody to take a shovel after you push the snow away, and you open up a 16-inch path at the front and back of every vehicle and every parking spot? It's not that complicated. It would be like at the most probably 2 feet wide, the snow piled up, and he just takes a shovel and he opens up a little walking area. It would take him it would probably add an hour's work at the very most onto their service. It's not complicated. Why are we making it all confusing? Chris, can I direct that to you? Why can't we talk to the contractor about just talking to him tomorrow and say, look, council's got a little problem with the snow being piled up in the curbs. Can you open up a 16-inch little path at the front and back of each vehicle so people can get to their vehicles? And what's the cost for doing that? If he tells us it's $1,000, then it goes back to why I want to talk to council about what we pay for. Because it's not much work for him. We're only talking about the downtown corridor. We're not talking about every residential entrance. In between the vehicles, that's it. Anyways, that's my view. I don't think it has to be micromanaged and made a big dilemma. Just somebody take a shovel and make a quick path in between the vehicles.
Would you like to answer that, Mr. Nipsey, Director of Infrastructure Development?
Through your worship, by all means, we can ask the contractor to do anything we want. But as far as it being, in my opinion anyways, added to their scope of work, it is a little more than simply cutting that. These guys they're getting in their ATV or their equipment and they're blowing down the sidewalk. When they now have to stop and do this, that's what creates time. It creates time for us when we're plowing. For us to do a road is easy. For us to get into a parking lot and you're worried about finessing back and forth, it creates time. But by all means, we can ask them. With respect to the other issue is because it's right on the curb, if we get those snowfalls where you're always fighting. We have this on Queen Street, you're going to plow it off. Plow comes by an hour later, pushes some of it back. So there's that fight all the time. The sidewalk guys aren't going to be out there all the time that the road plow is out there. The road plow is always going to be pushing. The sidewalk guys come maybe once a day, depending on the snowfall. But by all means, we can ask. The other reason I think I just wanted to touch on, and I missed in my original statement, I guess, was when we have this weather as cold as we do, part of the reason that the thought was to delay downtown cleanup a little bit, when it gets below -12, the salt is ineffective, completely ineffective, doesn't work. So when I talk to my managers and you're taking away these big piles of snow on the sidewalk and know that you're not going to hit bare pavement underneath, that's a concern. So what's left there is some, compacted ice snow, knowing that the salt is not going to be effective, even during the day. That was a concern. So that was part of the reason of the delay, waiting for a little bit of warm weather so that, yes, you take that off, boom, you put some salt down, and everything goes back to bare pavement. So.
Thank you, sir. I have Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to Councilor Voakes' suggestion, I don't think that's going to really work. If you think about the way that snow is, I mean, we have the parking spots. If the cars are there, they're in that spot at that particular point in time. But people will just park haphazardly after that because you don't see the lines anymore because they're covered with snow. So now the cars are all shifted. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But one of the biggest problems that I see is the fact that the business owners aren't allowed to push their snow onto the road. So they only make these piles along the edge of the curb. We need to look at our procedures and policies and have a regular cleanup of the sidewalk snow, but also allow maybe at night for the business owners to push the snow out on the road so we can take it away. But I can remember, I don't know if we're doing it now, but we would push the snow around in the day and we'd be taking it away at night. And the trucks and the front end loaders would come in at night and take the snow away. I had the pleasure of living through a Edmonton winter one year, many years ago. And I was and our winters are getting much like those winters used to be that out there. And they're always working. They're either pushing fresh snow around or they're taking old snow away. And that's what we've got to do on streets that we don't have any buffer between a sidewalk and a road. We've got to take the snow away. It's just simple. It can't build up there. You can't open your doors to get out of the cars.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm really grateful for this conversation, and I think most of everybody here on council knows that I started a conversation on my Facebook over the holidays, and it was actually a really lively conversation. I got 166 comments, which I've kind of summarized, which led to 10 questions, which I sent to administration, which we've kind of picked away at. But I want to make it known that I believe Essex has a high level of service. That's something that we take pride in. And so we may not see every year to year all the capital projects we want to see, but we do invest in our service. And so I think we ran into a perfect storm this holidays. The perfect storm being we had town hall was shut down. We are possibly down a couple people in public works. We're hiring. And then all of the snow kind of fell around the holidays. We have staff members off on holidays. We have staff members struggling to keep our roads clear, which is absolutely, I agree, the first priority. So that being said, there's some of the questions. Yes, we've talked. One of the questions was, has it been as historically done? Yes, because the residents in Harrow were telling me this is done. So it has been historically done. We need kind of like a measurable, I think, going forward. And Mr. Nepsey, our director of infrastructure, did touch on that. It's hard to get a measurable. I know it's hard, but I think, and now hearing his comments about the below 12 degrees, that makes sense. Now I have that information. I can relay that information back to the residents. But having no communication during those couple weeks left a lot of people questioning. We've done it in the past. Why are we doing it? I think it's a council decision to make that decision on level of service. Do we want to continue? From what I'm hearing, I think there's enough support on council saying we want to continue. Yes, it does cost money, but I think about it, and I was thinking about this. In spring, summer, and fall, we spend money on flowers. We spend money on man hours watering flowers. So what do we do in the winter? We don't have flowers, so we provide those costs in servicing our downtowns in another way. Out of the comments on Facebook, I would say 70–80% of the residents believe that this is a service council should continue for. They're like, we pay taxes, this is something we want to see. So I believe our residents like it. We answered the question about in-house. I believe that from Mr. Nepsy's conversation or comments about contractors, it makes sense. We don't want to pull our staff working all hours of the night and then have a snowstorm the next day and then they can't clear our roads. A bylaw with downtown merchants. I think that that's something I do personally have appetite to open this bylaw to see if there's something that we can do with the downtown merchants, whether it's them creating a couple of paths. I know Councillor Bjorkman has done so. So maybe we look at that one way too as a cost-saving measure and as a measure to service our residents faster. Because we know it does take some time to arrange these downtown cleanups. We did talk about, Councillor Voakes brought up the scope of work for downtown contractors. Mr. Nepsy talked about why that might not work. Another possible suggestion is drop-off spots. A resident brought forward. You know, we might have other ideas. Another thing I'm hearing, and this was what was tricky during the 2 weeks that we were closed, that town hall was closed, is why do we focus so much on the businesses when our residential sidewalks are not being taken care of? So, going forward, can we look at, if we have more people, we have 3 people now in the bylaw department, can we enforce the residential sidewalks? You know, that's kind of hit and miss. It's complaint driven. But if we have a bylaw for residential sidewalks, everybody should be doing it. Or what's the point kind of thing. In the holiday hours, I mentioned that. In the downtown contractor, I'd like to see something in our winter control plan with the downtown contractor having a contingency plan. Councillor Snively and I were involved in this when the contractor for downtown Harrow didn't show up, right? So let's have it laid out that those downtown contractors have contingency plans if their equipment breaks down, for example. So those are some of the comments. I think the residents appreciate it. You know, they were saying, right after it was done, they were on Facebook saying, thank you, the town of Essex, you know, thank you for doing this. It makes our communities more walkable, accessible for seniors. It's how we can support our businesses. I get that we don't want to do it 5 times a winter, but if we could do it once or twice, especially when we have those deep freezes, I think it means a lot to our residents. So those are some of my questions. I don't know how, if going forward when we open the bylaw, we can kind of address some of those. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, through your worship. Yeah, I've been pushing snow around on Main Street for 8 years now, and it's been my experience that the amount of snow that we had this last event was not near the amount of snow that we've brought people in to clear. We didn't clear at all last year, and when they do clear, I know because as they're backing up the Bobcat, it's right outside my window, and I get to have a look out and see what they're doing. What we do, and what a number of merchants do, is every time it snows, we go out and we clear a meter-wide sidewalk in front of our building, and we pile it either where the garbage can is to the side, or the tree, or the light post. And if you do it every time it snows, it's no big deal. You're never cutting through a big chunk of ice. You're never cutting through a big problem, and it takes care of the business. We're very fortunate in our towns to have our sidewalks cleared for us. Not everybody gets that, and it wasn't always that way. So that's a big service from corner to corner that we already provide. We make sure people can get onto the street and up to the next corner. I believe, looking at the bylaw today, that it says you're supposed to clear to the highway. Now, if we do tweak that so that we say, businesses, okay, the town is doing this much, but you need to clear a meter-wide path in front of your business to help your customers get into your store. That sounds like a really good idea and good business. So I would be more than happy to look at it that way. Let's have our snow clearers, these contractors that we bring in, take care of the bulk of that sidewalk all the way from end to end. And as merchants, let's take care of our customers. And I don't think it's too much to ask that each time it snows, you keep that meter sidewalk open, and that'll take care of those problems. Then when it does pile up, and what we've done in the past is once I've had it up to the skirt of the light, in came the snow movers and cleared it out. And I don't believe we've done that more than, you've done it 4 times that one really bad winter. Usually it was 2. And I just see that what we had this time wouldn't have qualified a couple of years ago for us to do that yet. But we need to make sure that as business owners and the people that are responsible in there are taking care of that part, and to ask them to do that much, I don't think is asking too much.
Sir, Councilor Voakes.
I couldn't help but notice, Councilor Rogers made a good point. And the point he made, and I never even thought of it, and it's a great point, we should be looking at it. We're all looking at ways of initiating ways for people to get access to their vehicles or into the store, which really looks like a pathway cut through piled up snow. But in terms of, I picture an elderly person pulling up, parking their vehicle, and the snow is this high beside they can't get out unless they park and infringe out into the oncoming traffic a little bit. So the pathways are a great idea, but really highlighting what Councilor Rogers is talking about, that's an issue that should be addressed. It needs to be addressed. I never even thought of that, to be quite honest with you. And if we're going to do it, then I get, like he's saying, is let's do it right. Let's not patch it up somehow, or let's not do little initiatives. Let's realize the fact that after a given amount of snow, somewhere we got to hire somebody through the wee hours of the night to go in and clean it up, haul it away from a given point to a given point, and be a responsible counsel to snowfalls. And I would support whatever cost there is to do that, because if we don't do it, all we do is deal with complaints. So if that's what the people want, they want it cleaned up as a result of complaint driven, and us being responsible in hearing those complaints, we should be cleaning it up at a specific area of the corridor of both urban centers. Because it doesn't do no good cut a path for a person to get out. Because if I'm a passenger, it's okay on the roadside. I can get out and walk on a road that's been cleared, go in front of my vehicle, and then go to a path that's been opened up. If I'm a passenger and I get out, there's nothing that's taking me in a clear path from the door to the front of the vehicle where I turn right to go into the opening. The path clearing only assumes a driver of a vehicle. It doesn't assume passengers. And I don't look at somebody as young and as agile as Ethan there. I look at somebody being 75 years old, and they're trying to get 80 years old, and they're respectfully to them, and or have some type of small disability, and they're trying to get out of that passenger side, get into that store. And we can't lose sight of that. So when we address the issue, we have to encompass what Councilor Rogers is saying. We have to acknowledge what he's saying, and we have to recognize and clean up based on that.
Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Voakes. One of the things a point I want to make is, again, and possibly push forward, is the fact that those storekeepers are not allowed to push snow onto the road, yet the road guys go by and they push snow back out on the sidewalk. So, I mean, we got to come to an agreement there where they're allowed to push snow out on the road if it's going to be taken away by the plows, or pushed to piles down the street or something like that. We are doing a fight back and forth a lot, and it doesn't create any positive conditions in the downtown cores, when that happens. And you don't have to be 75 years old to not be able to get out of the passenger seat of the car. Most of us don't want to be climbing over the console or anything to get out the driver's seat if we're sitting in the passenger side, and that's what it is for most of the time in the winter when we've got snow piled up along the sidewalks. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a few comments. First of all, I'll go back to someone made a statement tonight of what a waste of time. Wow, I can say that over the holidays. It sounded like our town was shut down. Administration wasn't doing anything. Reading all these emails. Wow, I couldn't believe it. Like, I know Mr. Nepsey has someone that is responsible for snow removal, sidewalk snow removal. some of those emails, I couldn't believe it. No wonder staff doesn't get their work done many days because of all the emails they have to answer. Like if I have a problem, I wish I would just call the CEO or call Mr. Nepsey's office instead of emailing everybody in town, because they all have to read those emails. That's one thing. I have all kinds of complaints from people in town, and it's not so much with the snow removal, it's how come we don't do it for the residents. We got all kinds of elderly people out there. Why don't they do the snow in front of my house instead of just doing it downtown for the business people? I know we'd be in big trouble if we didn't have businesses downtown, but we'd be in big trouble too if we didn't have our citizens, living on the outskirts of downtown. Councilor Bjorkman, perfect analysis. Pile that snow up a little bit higher, not out in the road, unless we have somebody coming down to get it, but we don't have those people available to us presently. Maybe we will. If anybody ever goes to the Legion, someone clears it out there. Where one driver or one passenger can get out, there's a spot right between the white lines. There's one between the car in front and back, so both drivers can cut through there. We have to do it. What's the matter with our business people? Lazy? Oh, I pay taxes. Yeah, you pay taxes. You want to pay more? Get off your butts and help us, as some business owners do. I bet you 75.
I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
You don't reflect on business owners as being lazy and tell them to get off their butts.
Okay. I'm listening. Okay, I hear your point of order, okay? That's it, or you have more to say?
No, that's it.
Okay, well stop. Stop right now.
I'm not going to stop.
Well, you're going to stop if that's your point of order.
Call business owners lazy and to get off their butts. And I'm going to ask you.
That is not a point of order. You're not telling me what I can and can't say, sir.
Well, I just did.
So I'm not recognizing your point of order. I'm going to continue. These people have got plenty out of our roads department. We look after them, as Mr. Nepsey has stated. That's their job. It's not my job to tell them what to do, or any one of us. It's not our jobs to tell them what to do unless we change the way they're doing things. Like, I could not believe it. Oh, this guy's complaining, They got to pitch in and help us. I don't know, I got so many things jotted down here, and I'm going to stop though because nobody wants to hear it. Help them out. Do whatever you can for us. Anyways, that's it. So, need a motion to receive the verbal report. Councillor Sniving, Councillor Rogers. Any questions? Oh, Councillor Voakes. I saw her first, you first, so go ahead.
Actions on it. Like, I just don't want to receive it. Because we receive it, tomorrow Chris opens up his filing cabinet, goes there. And then the next snowfall we get, the same emails that the mayor was talking about, be all going out again. So it's up to this council to be responsible and to make sure that we put a process in place. And I'm going to put a motion for it that we add on to the contractual.
And we have a motion on the floor right now to receive this, and then you can,
Okay, that's fine,
Okay.
yeah.
anything to the motion to receive. Councillor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From listening to council members, it seems like council members are generally by majority in favor of providing that level of service. But we do want to, I think, open it and look at if there's any room for improvements in either the contract or a measurable or working with downtown merchants. So I too want to kind of have some closure, and I don't know how we do that, whether it is through the next motion.
Yes. Let's see. Comment. Oh. Yes. Oh, you like to speak then? Oh. Okay. Yes, we just need to receive this report and then move from there. You can. Anything further? All in favor of the motion to receive? Okay, now, you'd like to speak first? Okay, our CEO, Mrs. Hunter.
Through your worship, thank you. I think through Mr. Nepsy's report, he indicated that we were going to open up the bylaw, we were going to take a look at it and see what other alternatives we had for cleanup in that area, so I think you just basically need to leave it in our hands.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Voakes.
I have no problem leaving it in anybody's hands to deal with it, but and so when we leave it in somebody's hands to deal with it, what's the time from the time it's left in the hands until the time we get a resolution? Because we get another snowfall. The mayor actually ironically said, I want to get this meeting over tonight because the roads are getting really bad out there tonight. So now somebody's going to be out there tonight pushing snow again. So we're going to be faced with the same challenges tomorrow morning if we get the measurable snow that's anticipated. And I would like to see this council as early as tonight give a direction to administration, give a direction to Chris that says whenever the snow becomes in excess on the sidewalks of 6 inches to the side of the sidewalk and in the parking areas, we have the contractor go in through the night and we clean it up. And we have to pay for that. Simple as that. Because we'll get a report back and we'll spend a lot of time on it. But I just don't know why we don't set, and the cost of doing it is going to be added on. We'll have to find the money somewhere. Or we can wait to be sued from somebody slipping and pay 3 times that money. So I don't know why we just don't direct administration tonight as a responsible council, whenever snow becomes in excess of 6 inches on the curb, that they direct the contractor to go in with a team of people through the night and clean it up. Simple as that. And when somebody asks me tomorrow what we're doing about it, I say, hey, we're going to clean it up. That's what we're going to do. Because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants that. So I'll make that a motion. And I'm looking for a seconder.
I'll second it.
For discussion. Okay,
Yeah, I need the motion.
I just want to put a motion for that with snow on the curb or on the side of the street gets in excess of 6 inches, that the contractor is directed by Chris to go in there and clean it up and haul it away if need be.
Councillor Rogers.
Can I second that and then?
For discussion, you can second it for discussion.
And start the discussion? I will second it.
Yes.
And I would like to start the discussion by saying, I don't know that 6 inches is the magic number, and I don't know if the 6 inches is the magic number, or it should be something else. But I do believe we need to start the discussion as to keeping our sidewalks in the business areas clear. And it's not just, the people that have complained to me about it have been residents, and they're not the store owners, they're the residents that want to utilize the stores. So I do understand the back and forth about the, I'm going off too far here. I just seconded the motion, and let's see what else other people have to say. But I think the 6 inches is possibly not the starting point.
Thank you. Anyone else? The motion. Okay, Deputy Mayor Meloche and then Mr. Dempsey.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I personally believe that we've got to leave some discretion to our administration. We may have 6 inches or we may have a foot, and there's a warming coming up. So I don't want to have a commitment to that when we hit this amount with no other factors being considered, that we go out and spend $10,000 to $20,000 to get rid of this snow. So I would prefer, I think this evening, and I know there's potential for having a snowstorm and before we get this resolved, but I think it's an important enough issue to leave it in the hands of our administration, have them come back, reopen this bylaw, and have some suggestions from administration on how they would propose that we take a look at this. I know it's not perfect the way it is, but I think there's the ability to make it much better than what we have right now. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I have Councilor Bjorkman and Councilor Voakes.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would agree with the Deputy Mayor. At this time, we need to look at our options, decide what is going to work best. Number one, it is a duty of the Roads Department. It's their call. They've been doing this job for a number of years now, as I've said in my experience. But we can do it better. We can do better. We can serve our community better, and we need to have our administration look at the two options that we have, whether we want to define a level of service by an amount of snow, by temperature, whatever it is, or do we go into the bylaw and strengthen that so that we are putting more onus on property owners to make sure that their areas are clear. But at this point, I don't think we should be making any motions or putting some arbitrary number to a cleanup.
Sir, Councilor Voakes.
Another question to administration. As a resident who has a sidewalk in front of his house, what does the bylaw say to me? What does the bylaw say in terms of me being responsible in cleaning the snow out? And what's the time allotment to do that?
Director of Infrastructure and Development, Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, offhand, I believe it's 24 hours you have.
And
From the end of the storm.
And measurement amount of snow, what determines I have to clean it?
I don't want to state, I think it's 2 inches, I think.
2
something
inches.
like that, with the rest. I'll confirm and email council tomorrow,
I'll give you
but
the
I
benefit,
just,
don't say 4 inches. But we say, well, we don't want to go out there and clean it. We don't want to go out there and clean it because technically we could have a warm up. So when somebody comes to my house, if I ever get sidewalks in front of my house, or I'll advise anybody that just tell them you're going to have a warm up so you don't want to go and clean it because that's what the town's going to do. We're just going to leave it and we're going to pray for a warm up. Or we're going to get the 7-day forecast. It's like this Saturday, it's going to go to 45 degrees. So we'll just leave it there until Saturday and Mother Nature will take care of it for us. That's not the way we want to run our business, people.
Okay, point of order. I have a point of order here.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
My point of order is being, quit trying to humiliate anyone else on council here. Deputy Mayor Meloche had an opinion, and he's entitled to his opinion.
I agree.
Whether you or I or anyone agrees with it, don't be cutting him down because of it. So you have the floor back, sir.
That's right. And just for the record, I want to go on record in terms of your point of order, and I want to make sure everything's clear. I didn't say Mr. Meloche. I not once said Mr. Meloche.
Okay.
And we'll watch him.
Sir, okay,
Okay,
sir,
so-
point of order,
Yeah,
once again.
yeah, okay,
You
yes.
do not have to name names. You made the statement that he made. There's only one person made that statement, and it was Deputy Meloche.
That's not
If you
true.
think we're that ignorant around here, we don't know who you're talking about.
I want
Wow.
to correct you if I could, because actually Mr. Nepsey said sometimes we wait for a warm up, just so you know also. No, hang on, Chris, if I could, there's a point of order against me. So just for the record, there was 2 people here tonight. Okay, so don't make an accusation. No, hang on. Look at it. If you're going to call a point of order on me, you're just not going to shut. I didn't ask you to hurry up.
Point of order,
Right?
point of order,
Right?
Mayor.
I agree. Point of order.
Point of order.
You guys
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
take it outside and get your differences out and say what you want to say to each other.
No, I don't want
I'm
to.
tired of listening to this, Councilor Voakes.
Don't say Councilor.
Counselor Voakes, stop. He has the floor.
No, he doesn't. I got.
No, you don't. Point of order
accept this
supersedes.
point of
Point of order right here.
I'm just telling you.
Enough is enough.
I agree.
Let's start acting like.
I
normal
agree.
people.
That's right. You're so right. Mr.
Point of order, you cannot
Out
speak.
here,
agree.
Councilor Voakes. You're not.
Last
I
time.
agree.
Last time. Point of order is right here. Who has the floor? Not you, not me.
Okay.
You don't realize that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you're done because you just keep repeating yourself. Mr. Nepsey, please.
through your worship, I just want to clarify, Councilor Voakes is stating, when I was talking about we wait for a warm-up, that's for the downtown cleanup, not for the sidewalk removal. Okay, so I just want to confirm that there's a difference there between the sidewalk and what's left aside from the walking path. So when I was referring to warming up for the downtown cleanup, and again, I just want to remind council, this is something in our snowiest season we've had in the last 5 years, this happened 4 times. So it's something that happens 4 times, didn't happen once last year. So I guess to keep it in perspective with respect to how many times this happens in the municipality, those are the past few years of events. But
Thank you, sir. No, we have a notice on the motion. We have a motion on the floor. Everyone has spoken once to it. Councilor Bondy hasn't spoken yet. Councilor Bondy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think listening to council, we have to leave it with our administration. The thoughts I think coming away from tonight is that council does see merit in having the downtown cleanups when the snow reaches a level that, and I would say when snowbanks impede accessibility. And that certainly is a judgment call, but this winter, I would say the big hiccup wasn't necessarily the amount of snow, but was the deep freeze. We were in a deep freeze for 3-4 weeks. So that is really what prevented us from having that meltdown. In terms of bylaw 1108, single-family dwelling is 12 hours, and commercial is 4 hours following the snowfall or formation of ice, or 4 hours following sunrise in case of falling or ice forming overnight. And this is another thing that another reason why I support the downtown cleanups is we need to shovel snow away from fire hydrants, drains, and sewers. So if we have multiple business owners on the main street trying to find places to put this snow, we could be creating obstacles for our fire department, and for when the snow does start melting, we have backlogs in sewers. So I think we leave it to administration. I unfortunately don't see it coming back to council to help us this winter. But I think, that being said, administration does have a strong enough mandate to know that we want to have accessible downtowns this winter. I think it's realistic to have an expectation coming back to council late summer, fall, in terms of how we can look at the bylaw in downtown merchants and the bylaw in residential sidewalks. So I want to set our staff up for success. And I want to set us up for success too. So that means having realistic expectations with the workloads and the headaches that we give our staff on daily basis. So I think they know. I think our staff know that this is a service council wants to provide. And I don't think we really need to kick around the can anymore. First of all, 6 inches is not good enough. It's not enough, right? We need to have it, set realistic expectations so that we're not spending, $200,000 on each downtown core when it becomes inaccessible. And I would say 6 inches is not something that most people would want us to spend our money on.
I get a chance. I agree, Councilor Rogers, with the 6 inches, and Councilor Bundy. Not enough. It's not high enough. If I open my door, I don't know how high it is. It's at least a foot off the road, I think. So 6 inches, my door's going to go over that, maybe by another 6 or 8 inches. I don't know. And I think 6 inches, us old people can step over 6 inches. And if we can't, the business owner should have that little pathway clean there. I think so. With regards to that motion, I will not be supporting it because of the biggest thing is the 6 inches thing. Councilor Voakes, you have the last word to this motion as you made it, sir, so.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Bjorkman. I want to reiterate that if we have a bylaw, and Councilor Bondy's reflected on it in terms of time allotment, but the bylaw doesn't talk about a certain depth measurement. And I want to be careful that we're not hypocrites, because I don't want to tell somebody, if we get 4 inches of snow, you got to clean the front of your house. And then you look at a bylaw that says, in terms of your downtown corridor, there's no measurement, it's just at your discretion. But we're telling a homeowner, you've got to clean it at this measurement. And if there is no measurement, then you got no way of defining it or controlling it. If there's no measurement to the bylaw. Because if Kevin Carter or Wayne Mills showed up at my house, if I had a sidewalk, my question would be, what's the measurement? Well, we don't have one. Then I'd say, well, why are you here? Well, because you got to clean your sidewalk. Well, what's the measurement? I know the time, but at what point do I have to clean it? A snowfall? Because I go uptown, I see snow on the side of the road, you don't clean that up. That's all. That's it. I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's all.
Okay, the motion, you need it read again or not? No? Okay, all in favor of the motion? Okay, opposed? Motion is defeated. Any other motions? Council Rogers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that, based on the idea that the administration is going to take a look at this situation, I'd like to at least get a preliminary report back, say the first meeting in February, as to the direction that we are heading, or what some of the possible recommendations may be going beyond that, and being possibly implemented into our bylaw. So I'd just like to get some type of report back early in February on this issue.
Do we have a seconder? Councilor Voakes, to the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Eight point two, Building Report 2017-12, read December 2017 Building Report for receipt.
Moved by Councilor
With
Snively.
question.
Supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Comment, Councilor Snively.
Through your worship, real quickly, I already talked to Chris on this. Have we had any inquiries from any builder yet in Ward 4 with the reduction? Nelson, have you talked to any contractors at all? Any developers? Nothing, eh? Chris, nothing?
Through your worship, no.
Could I make a no, I don't need to make a motion. I would like to see what we can do to entice the developers. Is there anything we can do to attract them to Ward 4? Maybe I can ask Nelson that.
Through your worship, Councilor Snively, are you speaking specifically for
No,
resident?
I had a question.
That's not a question, you made a motion.
I asked, through your worship, I asked if I could ask a question on the motion. That's right.
That is. Okay.
You're right.
Notice of motion, sir, was,
I made a motion, okay?
no,
And with the
he
question,
said notice
so
of motion.
I need a seconder.
There's a motion on the floor to receive the report right now.
And who seconded it?
There's
Now
already
we're
a motion.
discussing.
Right.
Now we're
We're
discussing.
accepting the report.
We're accepting the report.
To receive it.
Okay. It's just inform
We
what
gotta
you're
do the
asking.
motion first.
Yeah, what you're asking has got nothing to do with the report.
Right,
Yeah, so,
yeah.
so, motion to receive, ready for that. All in favor? Okay, Councilor Snively.
Thank you. Thank you, your worship. Well, you've already answered the question, but what can we do, Nelson?
Excuse me, I've got to get some direction here from administration.
Through your worship, this is an item that was not on the agenda for discussion, and if you want it to be on the agenda for discussion,
Okay, that's
it
fine.
should have come up at new business.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
You're right, though, I am pretty easy, Larry. Okay.
8.3, Economic and Development 2018-01, Hotel Feasibility Study Results, said report for receipt.
Motion to receive, Ron Rogers and Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? Councilor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Nelson, great report. It's just such a wealth of information and data for us to be able to take now and go to a potential hotelier to entice them to come here. It was a lot more than I was certainly expecting, but then I remembered how much we paid for it and thought, yeah, I guess it should be a really great report. So I don't know if you've got a couple of things you'd like to highlight from the report for us. That'd be great, just to get an overview of what you thought of it, and then allow us to comment on it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sperry.
Through you, Your Worship, I guess I'd first start off by saying,
He's reporting on the report. The question. No motion received. Now, would you like to discuss something that is in the report? Councilor Snyder was talking about something that had anything to do with the report, but this one does. Wrong? Right. Yeah, something in the report. Okay. Okay. Nelson.
through Your Worship, I guess I'd just start off by saying the report was funded partially by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs through the RED program. So the report cost a total of $20,000, and they picked up half of that cost because of a grant that we were successful in leveraging from the ministry. So some of the main points was focusing on two development scenarios, one in Essex and one in Harrow. The consultants were leaning towards potential for a successful development in Essex rather than Harrow, based on support amenities and based on the model that they provided. They provided a 90-room hotel model. Maybe that's not the same size as it should be for Harrow. That's not saying that Harrow couldn't support a hotel, but it just probably couldn't support a 90-room hotel. As Essex moves forward with development of more support amenities like your Tim Hortons and your McDonald's and your Canadian Tires and your Mark's Work Warehouses, all in that strip in Maidstone, and as Highway 3 begins to become more developed, that section of Highway 3 at least, then we'll see more support amenities, and we see the fields across the way, and that's why they gave a positive development scenario to that location in particular. We can now take this report and go to developers, talk with developers about how a hotel development could be feasible for Essex, specifically at Highway 3 in Maidstone.
That it, Steve? Okay.
If I may comment further, yeah, I just thought it was terrific. Just to point out that, you know, we went to a total of 39 stakeholders that they contacted. Had 24 stakeholders actually get back and have input into this. So we've got a really good mix of people who got involved and wanted to give us their information to help us with this. Again, if things went perfectly, there's an assumed opening of January 1st, 2020. If it actually took off and somebody got right on board and got started with it, that's when we could have something here. So I just think it was terrific. You know, the data shows really good for Essex Center. We're out here in the county. We only have 3 hotels in Leamington. There's the 1 boutique hotel in Kingsville and nothing else outside of Windsor. So just really good data. I was really happy with the breakdown. I think it's great, and hopefully we can shop it off to somebody who's looking to develop out here. So again, thank you very much. That was a great report.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Voakes.
Yeah, it really is, Nelson. Finally, it's a breath of fresh air, to be quite frank with you. And because we with the new arena and different facilities coming, the wineries, we certainly could use it. I can tell you this, a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to speak with some corporate people with Residence Marriott. And at that place in time, the reason they couldn't entertain a hotel, just for your knowing, The reason they couldn't entertain a hotel in the town of Essex at that time is because their underwriters wouldn't insure them because we didn't have the essential services and the essential equipment, that being of our fire department, in terms of having an opportunity to get to higher story buildings. And with our new fire truck today and different equipment now, we have that. So we would satisfy what the underwriters are looking for in terms of an event of something happening there where they could get in and they could have access to the building. So it's a great time. I think we now satisfy what anybody may ask of us in terms of getting it. And I'm so glad to see you taking the torch on this because it's something we really need. And thank you for that, Nelson.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say I'm a little disappointed in the lack of response from some of our southern partners. I would say some of the wineries and groups that denied having an interview because I think it could have even strengthened our case. So that's my one comment. And my other comment is, what do we do with it now? Because I'm trying to scroll through and find the sentence that I think I read in there saying something along the lines like, we can't use this to get developers, or I don't know, convince me otherwise. Like, I read something in there that says this is for your information, but I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. Or so I want clarification on that, and then I have another further point. So, Mr. Mayor, if we could go to maybe Mr. Silvera and then come back to me.
Our Economic Development Officer, Nelson.
Through your worship, I know exactly what point you're talking about. That point just specifies that if a development was to happen and they use the same model as the consultants used in their report, and down the line say that hotel development wasn't successful, it wasn't successful in getting the return on investment and it closed down, then they couldn't take legal action against the consultant to try and get their money back or anything. So it's basically, they put that out there for legality purposes, but the information is based on market conditions, it's based on the stakeholder interviews, it's based on a variety of different things in which they then put into a report. But if a hotel development, say, down the line was to shut down because it wasn't successful, they just can't go back to the consultant and sue them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silvera, that makes sense. So I would like us to do, I don't want us to shelve this, because I've been here long enough to know that sometimes reports can get shelved, right? Not anybody's fault. But is there a way we can put out letters endorsed by council to the big ones, to the Marriotts, to the Holiday Inns, to the Comfort Inns, saying we are here, we will meet you more than halfway, however we can. I've worked in the service industry for a long time in this area, and I know that we need lodging, like we do, whether it's in Essex Center or Harrow. I think if we build it, they will come. So how do we write to them, and how do we let them know? And maybe we don't give them this whole report, but maybe we give them a Coles Notes, a letter signed by the mayor saying, come meet with us, and let's start that discussion so that in 2020 we can have something here for people. I do not want this report to go on the shelf, like many others.
Mr. Silvera.
Through your worship, the plan is definitely not to have this report sit on the shelf. I think that moving forward, that is the step that we're going to take, is really sending the report out to the brand affiliates that were listed in the report. And we're having discussions with developers right now about, different opportunities in Essex as well. So in those conversations, this report could potentially be beneficial. So no, it's not a one and done project, and we're going to keep at her for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One further comment. I was going through this report with my better half, and he's like, well, what's in Harrow? What's in Essex? And I said, we have a lot of wineries that have a lot of weddings, and people need lodging. He goes, you don't have any wineries. He goes, when I think of wineries, I think of Kingsville and I think of Amherstburg. So I pulled up the map, and I showed Rick that we have 9 wineries here. Like, we really need to market ourselves. We have the most. So, yeah, and so people in my own family didn't know, and that's probably my fault that we didn't, we have 9 wineries right in our municipality. So we need to celebrate this, and we need to go out there and say, this is the place. Like, we are the place, and this council and this administration is going to work with you. So thank you for looking into this and getting some results for us.
Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through your worship, Nelson, great report. But I too believe what Councillor Bondy is saying. This is something that's been on the watch list, and I think those who've been on council before and for a number of years know that this is something that council has really been trying to drive home. If we're going to do something with economic development, we really want to see some kind of motel/hotel go into somewhere within the community, because we really believe it's an integral part of trying to grow the community. So thank you very much for the report, and as you said, I believe that you will not let it sit on the shelf.
Okay, Councilor Voakes.
Nelson, in terms of that, into administration, in terms of the vacant lot that sits at the corner of Main Street and Fairview, is there some way we could offer? I know somebody owns that. Could we have the discussions with him to see if he would be interested in being that third part of the triangle, to say here's a spot here you could facilitate for a hotel? Be a perfect spot. It's right beside the arena. It's ball diamond soccer. It's walking distance.
Okay, I have Mrs. Hunter with a comment.
Yep.
Through your worship, I think in reading the report, the ideal location was at the bypass on Highway 3, not in town.
Motion is to receive. Ready? All in favor? Motion carries. Thanks.
8.4, Economic Development Report on the November and December 2017 update for receipt.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.5 is a verbal report by our Chief Administrative Officer concerning EOK electrical outages in the Harrell service area.
Thank you. Through your worship, just before Christmas vacation, we had a meeting at ELK where the CEO, Mike Adet, was bringing the board members up to date on the momentary outages that were occurring in the Harrell service area. So I thought it would be helpful if I brought this back to all of council and to our public. Basically, there are two Hydro 1 feeders that supply Harrow. There's one they call the 3M1, and they have all these names for them, and that feeds Central and South Harrow, and then they have a 3M7 which feeds North Harrow. From the data that they have been able to locate and look into, they are seeing that the 3M1, which is Central and South Harrow, is experiencing higher than average momentary outages. And when they talk about a momentary outage, you're talking about an outage for less than 3 minutes. For example, the average interruptions in most areas is 0.75 outages per month, whereas in the 3M1 they're getting 2.4 outages per month. So some of the steps that have been taken, and of course this is not up to date in terms of what's happened since the Christmas vacation has ended, but in November 20th they contacted Hydro 1, ELK did, to advise of the number of outages that they were experiencing on that one feeder. On November 21st, Elk contacted their meter service provider and were able to obtain some data to support the number of outages that they were experiencing. On November 24th, Elk reached out to Hydro 1 for further information after analyzing the detail that they had gotten from the meter service provider. On the 28th, Hydro 1 found and repaired 3 defects on that feeder line, and although they fixed them, there was 2 outages after that. On December 5th, Hydro 1 reported to ELK that they performed what they call a thermal vision on the 3M1 feeder, and there was no issues found. But they did acknowledge that that feeder was in fairly poor condition. On December the 5th, Elk met with Hydro One, and Hydro One provided commitment and has since demonstrated that they are determined to find what the cause is and to fix it. And at this point, in talking to Mr. Audette, discussions are still underway between Elk and Hydro One.
Thank you for that. Moved by Councilor Bundy, supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Any questions? Oh, Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, based on that, Donna, through you, Mr. Mayor, what is the next step that's going to be taken? I haven't heard of any outages in the last little while, but are we at a fix now, or is there going to be further work done on this transformer, or is there going to be some work done on this transformer, or what's going to happen?
Through you, Your Worship, I think at the point of discussing this with Mr. Audette, he was waiting for some further information from Hydro One, and I think he was hoping to have that fairly soon, and then he would advise the board what they were going to do to fix the matter permanently.
Follow up on that, and could we, you have another Elk meeting this month in January, or can we as council then expect possibly another update after your board meeting?
Through you, Worship, I presume they will have a meeting this month, but I will contact Mr. Audette and confirm that, and then as soon as he has a meeting, I'll ask to attend again, and then I can bring an update to council.
Thank you. Councilor Vogt.
Yeah, I sit on the board of directors. Actually, we had talked about that. We had talked about having ongoing meetings until this problem has come to a resolution, so it can be constantly addressed ongoing. But I'm sure Mike's answer to Donna will be yes, we're going to have a meeting.
Okay, ready for the question. All in favor? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, no reports from youth members this evening. Any updates from County Council this evening?
Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Here, Mr. Mayor, no, there's no, we haven't had a meeting yet this month, and we have one Wednesday night, so.
Okay. Item 11 on the agenda, 11.1, correspondence to be received, that the correspondence listed in 11.1 be received and further shared where applicable.
Okay. Councilor Rogers and Councilor Snively. Moved and supported. Any questions? Questions of any of the 1, 2, 3, 4? No? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.1, correspondence to be considered for receipt or receipt in support. Town of Lakeshore resolution regarding the provincial flood insurance program for receipt or receipt in support.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche.
That's receive and
Support.
report.
Supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? No. All in favor? Motion carries.
Eleven point two, Town of Amherstburg resolution supporting Morris Turnberry's resolution regarding the tentative farm tax class for receipt or receipt in support.
I move to receive and support.
Moved by Councilor Rogers, supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 15 on the agenda, 15.1, are notices of motion that were first presented at the December 18th, 2017 regular council meeting and are being brought forward for consideration this evening. The first notice of motion that the Town of Essex send a request to AMO and all other municipalities in Ontario requesting that when school boards make decisions to close schools, that they have to offer the building to the local municipality for $1. As moved by Councillor Bondi, looking for a seconder.
Seconded by Councilor Voakes. With comment, sir? Any? Yes, Councilor Voakes.
Just to Councilor Bondi, I'm just trying to understand if I was the school board and I had a vacant building, what would drive me, or what would be my incentive to say to use the municipality, I'll sell for $1? because technically I could put it on the open market and sell it for 50,000 and be 49,999 up. Like, what is it that gives us any leverage where they would say, yep, that's a great idea, we'll give it to you $1 as opposed to going to the open market?
Question to Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. School boards are mandated by the province to do what they have to do with vacant buildings. And before, they used to give municipalities the first kick out of the can for $1. Then, new provincial government came in and said you have to sell them for market value. So, market value may be okay for schools sitting vacant in urban centers. Like the city of Windsor recently just sold one. But when you look at the smaller rural areas, we tend to sit on them. The junior school, for example, is a prime example of a vacant school building that is sitting there that we've been, maybe not all of us, but I've been fielding complaints for the last 6 years on long grass, property standards, broken windows, sending OPP there for broken windows, sending Mr. Carter, our bylaw enforcer, there. This past snowfall, over the holidays, there was issues with snow on the sidewalk. So had we been given that building for $1, we could have maybe used it for municipal use, or we could have sold it to a developer, and it wouldn't be an eyesore. So really, I'm asking the school boards to be accountable. I'm asking the province. I think what we want to ask is the province to give a new mandate to the school boards, because the school boards, if they were allowed to, they could give them away for $1, and they could just walk away and probably be less of a headache for them, although they wouldn't have the financial compensation. If you look at the Harrow High School, though, in the 1970s, we owned it. Our town owned it. We gave it to the school board for $1. And now, they're asking us to buy it back. Had we been able to get it for free, we could have done community hubs with it. We could have done development with it, but we can't. Many municipalities, I would say probably most municipalities, cannot afford to pay market value, then retrofit or demo, and then make a use out of it. So it's really, they're leaving us with a big eyesore in the hearts of our communities. And I think it's time that we get together. And this doesn't say go to the school board. This is go to AMO. I am asking council to support this, to go to the Association of Municipalities in Ontario, because I think AMO should take a strong position on this, because we may not be impacted by this. Unfortunately, our ship has sailed for the junior school, and our ship is most likely 99% sailed for the high school. But it doesn't mean down the line that one of our neighboring communities won't have this same burden fall on their lap. So on behalf of all the smaller, more rural municipalities, and it could be us again one day, let's lobby AMO, let's lobby all of our neighbors and say, you know what, enough is enough. We do not want to be left with these dilapidated buildings in our cores. We would like them for $1 so we could do something with them. And that's kind of my thoughts, and I don't know what the thoughts are from council, but I want to go above the school board, Councillor Voakes. Oh, I'm done with that school board. That school board's done with us, and I'm done with that school board. They haven't played nice, and it's nothing personal against the school board, but this is a high-level thing of what is really impacting our municipalities in a negative way, and this is. So let's work to change it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councilor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I love the flavor of this motion. However, I think it's we shouldn't be putting a dollar amount on it. It should come to us for legal transfer costs, whatever. And I know that you have to put a dollar on it, I guess, to make it legal. But this is really focused more on the Harrow issue, whereas I think what we've got to look at and move it to AMO is, and word it a little bit differently, as such that should a host municipality show a viable need or use for that building, they're not there for us to take back and us as a municipality sell it and make a profit on it. If we, as a municipality or any municipality, has a viable a use or a need for a redundant school facility in their municipality, then they should be offered that for the costs of transfer only. And I think that's what we need to push to AMO.
Thank you, sir. Anyone further? Okay, Councilor Bjorkman.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'd say we should send it to Roma as well. is that that group as the Rural Municipalities Association, I think there are so many of them out there that are in exactly the same boat as we are, and we know we're swimming upstream, but you might as well ask, because nothing else is coming anyway. The amount of costs that come to the town and to the different towns that are dealing with this, all the things that Councillor Bondi mentioned, those are all costs that are being absorbed by this town while that thing's sitting there for 4, 5, 10 years, however much it is. Whereas if we got that, and even if we did sell it to a developer at a reduced rate, but it became something in our community, that's worthwhile to us, and the school board should be giving that up for us.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through your worship. And the other thing that that bothers me too is that they want to persist and hold on to the building, but they want to leave the building the way it is and try and sell it as is. And we know that, and if it doesn't sell right away, there's a very good chance that it's not going to sell with the building on it. I think there should be some kind of law written in there that says, and if they try to sell the property with the building as is for a certain period of time, maybe 5 years, let's say, that if it doesn't sell within that time period, then they're responsible to come back and demolish the building and try and sell the land as a vacant piece of property, rather than with a building on it. Because if, and I know if they were to sell it to a town or a municipality for $1, there's a good chance that we could go in, if we couldn't use it as a hub or repurpose the building, that we could tear it down, probably at a cost that would be affordable because we got the land for $1. So there should be something in there too that says something about, you know, even if they hold on to the land, that they have to get rid of the building after a certain period of time.
Okay, anyone further? And Councillor Voakes has had his hand up again the second time. We have a motion on the floor, and I've been directed to oh, okay. But just for the rest of us, there's a motion on the floor, you speak once to it instead of 3 or 4 times, so. Yes, you may. You'll be the last one. So we have a couple of us haven't said anything, so if you're one, sir. Councillor Snively.
Yeah, through your worship, I agree 100% with the deputy mayor. There should be a time period on the building, and I don't agree with the 5 years. I think it should be sooner than that. 5 years is a long time for a building to sit there. We know what's going on with the school in Harrow. Okay, it's a mess. Okay, and like Councillor Bondi has told us, some of the destruction that's going on there, we don't want to see that eyesore. So I agree with you 100%, but I'd say a time limit, probably a couple of years at the most, and then they're responsible to take the building down. I agree 100%.
And before I turn it over to Councillor Bondi, I agree with a shorter term also, as Councillor Snively just stated, with Deputy Mayor Meloche's recommendation. Like, we all know that they knew 2 or 3 years previous to closing this thing that they were going to do it, so, you know, they don't need 5 years, I don't think, either. A couple of years, just like Councillor Snively said. I could agree to. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will accept the friendly amendment on Roma. I think that's a good idea. I'm trying to figure out how we can marry the rest of the components that have come up in this conversation. For example, Councillor Rogers, a viable use. I'm a little perplexed with how we can incorporate viable use, because say the school board gave it to us and we wanted to do something with it, we still have a cost. We have a big cost. So I prefer them just to give it to us for $1 because it's clean, because even if we get it for $1, we have a cost. So our viable use might be flipping it to a developer. Like if we could get condos where the junior school was 5 years ago, that's very viable. I don't know how to put a lot of words in here without stretching it out, without making it overly complicated. I like the deputy mayor's suggestion too, but how do we put this in something compact to AMO that the rest of AMO is going to endorse, right? Like, we all kind of get it. We all kind of get the one sentence that municipalities should be offered, and maybe the language is municipalities should be offered the school board should offer the municipalities the school for $1 first. But if we throw in definitions and things that the school board has control of, saying, well, they want that, but it's not viable. I don't want to give the school boards any jurisdiction over judgment. I'm probably not making sense. I'm making sense in here, but I'm having a hard time translating it. I want it to, yes, it's a pregnancy brain. I want it to be black and white. I don't want it to be each municipality has to make a case to the school board. Because if we have to go make a case to the school board, we're going to lose every time. If it's in the law, we could win, right? If it's in the law, it's up to the municipality to determine if it's viable or not, right? It's up to us. Say, for example, if we took on the junior school and the cost of demo is $300,000, that may not be viable for us. But if it's $50,000, that might be viable. I want to leave us with the definitions, not the school board, because we know it doesn't go favorably. So I'd love to send it to Roma too, and maybe we send this off, and then in the meantime we think about what the deputy mayor has mentioned, and we send something off again. Like, we just keep hitting them. I just don't know how to put the timeline in there with the selling of the building I just don't know how to do it. If somebody else knows how to do it, let's do it.
Okay, now, over to Councillor Voakes as the supporter of this motion. Are you okay with that friendly amendment, sir?
Yeah, I am. I just want council to keep one thing in mind, that we got the silos for $1, but we spent
Okay,
$300,000.
I'm going to cut you off now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying.
All in favor of the motion?
I don't know why I'm getting cut off, but okay.
15.1.2, that administration receive and review the Ward 4 feedback items on the list provided and report back to council with an update on same, or if required, obtain council's endorsement for any further action items recommended by administration, as moved by Councillor Bondi for consideration this evening.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bjorkman. Support? Any questions? Councillor Bondi.
Mr. Mayor, can I I did send an email out to everybody, as per Councillor Voakes' suggestion. When I did present to council, he said send a list of action items, so I believe everybody got it, right? It's in the email. I do have one additional one that we add, looking at the transport trucks on residential streets, for example, Sinisac and Erie Street North. I believe you've got this complaint too. A lot of yes, so a lot of truck traffic is going through town on Sinisac Street rather than going on the 3rd concession or on Roseboro or on County Road 20. So, and I don't know if it has to do with GPS coordinates. So that's another thing. I can email that, but I do have, there is that list. Many of those items we're picking off. You know, for example, the Ward 4 development fees we've dealt with. Another one is the lack of police presence in Harrow on concession 3, the speeding in the 50-kilometer zone. Councillor Snively's been working on that one. Transport trucks on concession 3. That's a big one. Ms. Hunter has informed us that vouchers for cats are going to be given out at the Harrow Arena in February. So, and we've had an update on the hydro outages. So a lot of these things we are picking off. The Deputy Mayor Meloche said that County Road 20 is in the county budget in 2019. So they're all in that email that I sent, I don't remember when, December 12th. And I will continue to monitor them, and if administration needs to come back with anything endorsed by council, please do.
Thank you. Councillor Snively.
Your worship, I think Councillor Voakes had his hand up before I did, so.
No, no, it seems to be good. Go ahead.
Yeah, your mic's
Go ahead.
on.
It's
Keep
a
going.
dilemma for him, so just go ahead.
Okay, through your worship, getting back to the truck traffic on the 3rd concession, I brought that forward at the police service board meeting, so this is going to be addressed, okay, and the local police are going to be involved, and they're gonna take it on to try to eliminate that heavy truck traffic. And by the way, it is not Robinson Trucking, I just want to make that very clear, okay? It's people from out of our municipality, they're driving on GPS system, and that's the shortest route for them, it shows on GPS, so. And as far as the traffic, speeding on the 3rd, I've already taken care of that, that's already being patrolled, so just pass that on. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Voakes?
Just for the record, GPS systems in trucks doesn't determine the shortest route, just so you know. It doesn't work that way. GPS systems in trucks allow for Class B and divisional roads for trucks to take. They're not prompted by GPS, just for the record and just for the knowledge of everybody.
Anyone else? I have some comments. I don't know where to start. Way back when Councilor Bundy knocked on doors, I guess. Poor administration. I'll start out saying poor administration. I don't know, that's 8 or 10 items, 12 items, throwing at administration to check these things out, you know. It's almost to the point where, hey, my clothesline doesn't work the way it used to. Man, I pull on it and it doesn't work. What is the town going to do about it? If you read a lot of those things, and thank God I'm not on Facebook, you know, I wouldn't be able to stand it, I know I wouldn't. But how many, Councilor Bundy, had of those? What if we all start doing this? You wouldn't believe, I was going to say 1,847 complaints I've had in the last 5 years. You know, it's not that many. I try to deal with them myself. It's not the little teeny things that I go to administration with a list like this. Like, man, if you people only knew how difficult it is for administration to get their daily jobs done. Just look at your own phone, you know, email. Oh, okay, your point of order, sir. Yep.
The point of order is this, is that administration are paid by taxpayers to do work. And administration has the knowledge and the opportunities to deal with issues as they see fit. So that's our only outlet as councillors, to identify to administration our concerns. And if there's a workload for them, unfortunately, there's a workload for them. And so if somebody thinks that I as a councillor are going to try and get answers, and I don't want to take it to somebody because they got a workload, and hence I can't get an answer for a taxpayer, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I apologize to administration if we collectively as a council are downloading you with a lot of work, but you're our only avenue to resolution. And that's what you're paid to do, and that's what you're there for. So I don't want to be dictated through your chair about how we handle things as a council. And I'm sure my council will support me on that. They don't support me on nothing, but I'm sure they'll support me on that. I don't need to be
Okay, your point of order. Because listen, please, what don't you know about keep it shut?
Pardon me?
What do you not know about please keep quiet?
No, what did you say?
Keep it shut.
What shut?
Your mouth.
Keep my mouth shut.
Yes. When you don't have the floor, you should keep your mouth shut like everyone else does, sir. You did, and you didn't just, okay, I will, because now I have the floor to deal with your point of order. Listen. Oh, big deal. Why doesn't someone say point of order now? Because it's him, it's not me, it's him.
It's you. When Richard was chairing the meeting last week, we did have a minutes problem. This week, it's point of order, please.
That's right. Now, I gotta deal with his point of order first. I've just, shut up, I'm telling you. You don't understand English. You don't even understand English. You don't understand it.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
please.
The point of order was, what you made, you didn't just say point of order. You were discussing. You were, yeah. Yes, you did, but you were discussing the issue.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Listen, please, I got that from administration. So don't tell me to please. Why am I yelling? Because she's telling me to shut up. You're out. You're gone. You've had more than one meeting. Out of here, sir. You're gonna leave. Call the police. I do not care.
Okay, we're all set. Two, three, four, five. Okay.
Okay, at this time, I will reconvene the meeting, and I did say adjourn, and then I said take a break. So I really didn't mean to adjourn the meeting, which I do have power, but I didn't do that, and if I did, I'm reconvening the meeting at this time. So here we go. All we need to do is have anyone speak to that motion made by Councilor Bondi, or I'll call the question. All, okay,
So you call the question?
read our motion. Would you read our motion to make sure?
Yep.
Because there was a change that Councilor Voakes agreed to, a friendly amendment.
I don't recall for the amendment on this one. Oh, through the chair, that was the motion before, which did pass, about, that was concerning the schools. This one is concerning the Ward 4 feedback items on the list provided by Councilor Bondi. And to my knowledge, there wasn't a friendly amendment on that one. Right, to the list itself, yep. Yes. So we can call the question.
Okay, now. I almost want to ask administration what they think, but anyways, I won't. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? You got it? Okay.
15.2, our notices motion presented only this evening being brought to the Monday, February 5th meeting.
I didn't make the announcement that it was defeated. Motion was defeated. Okay, thank you, sir.
So 15.2, Mr. Chair, we already have the three motions that were presented by Councilor Voakes earlier this evening during adoption of agenda. The fourth motion for presentment coming back to the February 5th meeting is Councilor Bondi that administration review the current speed limit and handicap sign on Ridge Road and report back to council on any recommended changes, if any.
Thank you for that. We can't.
No.
No, we can't discuss it.
Yeah, it's just
this is for next meeting, Ron. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Any reports or announcements from council this evening?
Okay, Councilor
I have an
Snyder.
announcement, and I hope media, local media writes this, so our residents know. Please, I have had a couple complaints from the farming industry of ATVs and snowmobiles going across winter wheat crops. And I appreciate it if the media releases it, to please have consideration, stay off private property. I know they enjoy riding their machines, and I used to have one myself, but please stay off of private property. Thank you.
Councilor Rogers. Nothing? Councilor Bjorkman. Fine. Deputy Mayor Meloche. Okay, all right.
Through the chair, if no other reports or announcements this evening, then we're at item 18, bylaws for third and final reading, 18.1. 1037, bylaw 1659 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 1037, the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the town of Essex, for third reading this evening.
Moved by Councilor Snyder, supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Bylaw 1667 to confirm the proceedings of the December 18th, 2017 regular meeting, also for third reading this evening.
Councilor Rogers and Councilor Snively, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
18.2, bylaws for three readings this evening. 1669 being a bylaw to amend position titles for certain non-union staff of the Corporation of the Town of Essex.
By Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Bylaw 1670 to authorize an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of Transportation and the town, and this relates to the Ontario Municipal Commuter Cycling Program.
By Deputy Mayor Meloche, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Under 18.3 bylaws for 2 readings this evening, 1671 being the confirming bylaw for this January 15th regular council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Rogers. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. And looking for adjournment, Deputy Mayor Meloche. Councilor Snively, any?
Say one thing before we,
I-
to say anything at all?
Well, you are, because I'm going to allow it.
I would like to just say one thing about this council. We worked very hard to move this town forward. And I would appreciate it if the media would print, I'm not saying all the media, but a lot of media print some good stuff, okay? There are certain media that prints garbage, okay? And it's got to stop. When I hear something like our CEO being taken out on a stretcher, I'm very concerned. So I'm asking the media to print good things about this town. I'm fed up with one reporter making statements that he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. And I'm quite angry at this. Pissed, to be honest with you. Enough is enough of this guy. And you know who I'm talking about.
It's adjourned. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. Be careful those roads. I have no idea what they're like, but I did hear it was snowing. About 7 o'clock. Take care. Don't run out of salt, Chris.